welcome back to the program. The annular eclipse has made its way across Africa. We've been looking at pictures from all the places where it was sighted. A number of people saw it pass over Mbeya in southern Tanzania, and hundreds turned out to watch, including school children and some tourists. It was also seen in Madagascar and Africa's Indian Ocean Islands, where the last places to witness the eclipse around 10 o'clock at night. Meanwhile, here in Nigeria, the eclipse was captured in Lagos at about 8:35 a.m., though it was expected to have been seen in the city as at 7:14 a.m. with a peak at 8:26. At about the same time, viewers in the nation's capital, Abuja, gathered at the National Space Research and Development Agency to view the sight. The annular eclipse was obstructed by a cloudy sky for much of the time, which made it difficult to clearly see the rare occurrence by viewers in some parts of the country. Other cities in the country where the eclipse was viewed include Port Harcourt, the River State capital, Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, Sokoto, Ayingba in Kogi State, Kano, Osogbo, and Benin City. Nigeria's shoe, fashion and car exports have collapsed as the country's non-oil industry has run out of dollars to import raw materials, and worsening unemployment is seen in Africa's biggest economy, which has now slid into recession. The struggling manufacturing sector is a blow to the country, which has been pushing hard to win itself off dependence on crude oil sales.
Nigeria's economy had been rumored to be in recession since the first quarter of the year, when the gross domestic product contracted by 0.36%. Today, the second quarter data from the Statistics Office was a full confirmation. GDP came in at a negative 2.06%, a level never seen in decades. The decline was led in the main by oil sector, finance and insurance, manufacturing and construction. 6 months into the new year, it's no longer news that Africa's largest economy was heading south. Theft and steady attacks on oil facilities by militants hit the main revenue source, and no thanks to widely volatile oil prices.
I'm sure many expected the second quarter to be in the region of maybe, the worst, let's say 1% decline, but we've not seen 2%. It shows that we have not stopped bleeding. And if you look at the unemployment figures as well, it went up dramatically to over 13%.
If you add the July inflation data released on Wednesday to the latest growth decline, it all points to one thing. 160 million Nigerians are living on the edge as they see their incomes shaved and disposable monies whittled by higher prices of goods and services.
And this is the message I give to my team continually, that consumers do not eat GDP. And let me explain a bit more. When things are tough, we have to respond to the changing behavior of consumers. And at the end of the day, people want to eat. They want tastier, healthier choices at cheaper prices. This is what the ideal world is. They want to have options that they can still feed families, that they can still feel that they are enjoying a meal without necessarily buying the same ingredients that they could have bought before.
But the Buhari's administration says the gloomy-looking second quarter report was, quote, a temporary decline. In a statement also released Wednesday from the office of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the government points to agriculture, solid mineral. The VP office adds that as the administration's emphasis on capital expenditure begins to yield results and the investments increase, the growth of the domestic economy is likely to improve further. Economic analyst and chief executive officer of Time Economics, Tilewa Adebajo, shares some of the government's optimism, but believes a lot is yet to be done.
The main concern right now is the coordination of the economy to restore confidence. We have problem of confidence not only from business people, we have crisis of confidence from investors and foreign investors alike. It's amusing that the Central Bank of Nigeria has been trying so hard to attract foreign investors into this country, into their bond markets.
I'm being joined by the CEO of financial derivatives company, Bismarck Rewane, for his perspectives on the state of the Nigerian economy. Mr. Rewane, thank you for talking to us on Network Africa.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the figures are out. The GDP, inflation, all not looking good. And the federal government has come out to say the second half will be better. What should be the key action points for the federal government to focus on moving forward, especially in terms of improving investor confidence?
I think you hit the nail on the head. The real thing is that investor confidence is at its lowest point, if anything negative. So, but before we go forward, let us look at what has happened. We have a cumulative deficit in GDP growth for the year of 2.5%. That has never happened in the last 30 years in Nigeria. We have a currency that has lost about 6% of its value, and we have inflation at about 17%. So what I think we will do, and then I'll also talk about things that we should not do. What we need to do is to immediately step up the recovery process, which is what the federal government has been doing. Deficit spending, approved borrowing plans, and actually paying contractors and getting people back to work. What is wrong also is at this time, the central bank is actually increasing interest rates to stifle, which is actually strangulating taking oxygen out of the economy. Britain, after Brexit, the British currency lost 14% of its value, 35-year low on currency. However, they also brought down interest rates to stimulate the economy back into growth. When you are confronted with the dilemma between growth and inflation, typically, especially if you're in a recession, you pick growth and you forget inflation for the time being. That is what we need to do. But then you have to look forward and say, how many components of government are we talking about? We're talking about the federal government, the state government, and the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, let us go to the state governments. For example, I'll use three examples. Indexing, the car manufacturer in Onewi has shut down because of lack of raw materials and lack of market. Aero Contractors, the second largest aviation company in Nigeria, has actually shut down its operations in the meantime, and then they're going to lay off people. More importantly, the small and medium-scale enterprises. There's an example of a company called Newly Juice, whose offices at 7 Romans Road, its restaurant in 7 Romans Road in Ikoyi, this morning was demolished arbitrarily by the Lagos state government in a form of executive anarchy. Now, this company employs 25 people. The promoter is a product of the Kellogg Graduate School of Management in Chicago and has private equity investors. If people of this caliber, elitists who are well educated, who are bringing back and giving back to their society, can be treated this way in a form of executive anarchy, demolishing without giving them any notice, and not in a country which adores rule of law, then what happens to others? So if you want to encourage investment, you have to know what to do, one, and then what not to do, two. Your statements and your signals must be consistent. This is the point. So now let's go back to the economy itself. The economy, you saw that what's going to happen next is that there's going to be increased government spending. Oil production will probably come back up again after engaging the militants and having the amnesty program. We're going to have increased crop production. However, the recovery is going to be much slower than we thought because we are in a much deeper hole than we ever envisaged. And that is the point we are. The currency will weaken a little bit until certain changes that take place at the Monetary Policy Committee. I think before then, we will have to see interest rates come down. Interest rates are strangulating and taking oxygen out of this economy at this point in time.
Rewane, thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Still ahead on Network Africa, it's Free Treatment Day for HIV-positive patients in South Africa. Do join us again.